welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Charmaine, and today it's What's Up Wednesday. Woo woo! How are you guys doing today? Okay, so today I have set up a collab with my friend Taylor. What's up, Taylor? If you guys don't know who Taylor is, she is actually my best friend. We met through YouTube here, and I talk to her at least once a week, if not twice a week. She is pretty awesome. We do a whole bunch of collabs together. We have book club together. We do some What's Up Wednesday collabs together. We do other kinds of collabs together. I love her so much. She's my best friend. She's awesome. So please go and check out her channel. And today we are doing a couple of questions, and as per usual on my channel, we are playing bingo. Okay, so these are book-related questions that I found because I wanted to do something a little bit different to mix it up a little bit. What's Up Wednesday can be anything, which is the perfect thing, and I always throw bingo in with mine. So, if you guys don't know about bingo, if you need a card, please either email me or Instagram me, and then I will send you a photo of a card, and that will be your card for the game. I am going to start rolling the balls, and the machine is kind of loud, so I'm just giving you guys a heads up, okay? Alright, we got our first one here. So our first one is N34. N34. And please let me know if you guys can see the numbers as well, okay? I have like a little bit of a new setup if you guys didn't notice the background behind me. It's a little bit different. I switched room sides. So it's also a little bit messier on this side. But I also like had to move the camera around and everything like that, so I might not be as close as I was before, okay? So I have 25 questions here. So I'm going to start with the general questions. The first one is, what book are you reading right now? I am reading The Zodiac Academy #2. I don't know what it's called. It's by Carol Peckman. I'm going to put it up here. And somebody else. 2 people wrote it. I read the first one in like 24 hours. It was one of my it's my What's Up Wednesday TBR book. It was one of those. And as soon as I started reading it, I could not put it back down. I didn't read it like in a 24 hour, like the same day kind of span, but I read it in like the span of 24 hours in like 2 to 3 days, I think. It was so good. I spent my entire day off the one day reading it. It was like, and when I'm into a book like that, I like forget to eat. Like, I don't drink stuff, like no water or nothing. My boyfriend's like, hey, you should, like, how you doing there? Do you want some food? And I'm like, I don't. Because I gotta read the book. Like, I don't have time for that food. Nobody has time for food when I'm reading a good book. So I'm reading that one right now, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And actually, I think that's the only one I'm reading. Oh no, we're on Pretties. So my boyfriend and I are listening to the Ugly series by a person I can't remember their name, honestly. I've been wanting to read it forever, so we listened to the Uglies already, and now we're on the Pretties book. I'll put the book photos up in here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that so far, so that's one that I'm listening to. Okay, number 2. Can you remember what your parents used to read you before bedtime? My mom always used to read to me when I was young, and there was a book that I remember that was like essentially telling you to stay away from strangers. Like, these are the scenarios that people could try and get you into, and these are the ways that you should try and get out of it. Like, don't always assume that just because somebody looks nice, they're not actually a bad person. Don't assume somebody wearing like a black hat and a black trench coat is like the bad person. That kind of thing. Honestly, my mom is Susie Q in the comments. If she remembers, Mom, if you remember what that book is called, can you put it down in the comments below? But it was like a book to keep kids safe. Like, I remember my mom reading that to me. Like, and it was just to tell you, like, you know, the boogeyman's not real, but there is a guy on the street who might try and kidnap you. It's real, kind of thing. And that's like essentially what the book was. Like, it was trying to keep you safe. I remember that book. Number 3 is, what was your favorite childhood book? It was a Strawberry Shortcake tape. I honestly, no joke, recently asked my Nana for it. Like, probably like 4 years ago. Like, it was like a cassette tape. Every time I went over to my Nana and Papa's house, my Nana would put it on and I would fall asleep listening to it. And it was my favorite book. And so it was like my first audiobook. And it was amazing. And she doesn't have it anymore, and I'm sad. Like, and I mean, like, I asked for it when I was like 40. So like, obviously she doesn't have it anymore. But I was sad that we didn't have it. Or like, I couldn't figure out like what it was called or anything like that. But it was like a story of like strawberry shortcake. So, like, I would go to sleep thinking about strawberry shortcake, and then I would always have good dreams because, like, you know, I'm thinking about strawberry shortcake. So that one was probably my favorite one from when I was, like, a kid. From when I was, like, a teenager, I had one that was called, I think, actually, it might be on this side somewhere. I'm not sure where it is. But it was, like, a girl got kidnapped, and then it's, like, her trying to escape, and she's, like, the president's daughter. But that was like from when I was a teenager. I can't remember what it's called. If I remember, I will put the photo up here as well. Number 4 is, do you read multiple books at a time or just one? I like to read multiple books at a time. I also kind of have like a short attention span and a bad memory. So it's maybe not like in my best interest to read a couple of books at the time, like now that I've said that out loud, but I do actually like reading a couple of books at a time just because my short attention span means that I have to be like I'll read some and then I'll be like, I'm not into this one. And if I don't read another one right away, I get into a reading slump. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh, I should finish that book because I am enjoying that book. Like I want to read that book, but I'm just not in the mood for it right now. And instead of just like switching like gears and like doing something else, I'll just be like, oh, I'm not going to read for 3 months now instead. Like, and I have way too many books in here to not be reading. Okay. Way too many books. I'm talking to myself, not you guys. I'm not being sassy with you. I'm being sassy with myself. But yeah, so I need to read more. I have been very slow. Like March, I read 3 books. April, I read like 5. I need to like pick it up a little bit. Number 5 is, how do you pick the next book you want to read? I am in 2 different book clubs, so those kind of help because I have the one here on YouTube and then I have an online book club. And then I pretty much am a mood reader. I tried to do TBR game. I tried to do TBR, I actually have it back here. My TBR game here. I tried this, like where I picked out the cards and then I picked a book to go with it. That actually worked for 1 month. Like it did work the first time. And then it never worked again. And like, so I'm very much a mood reader. I do try, like say I read like Fourth Wing and then I'm like, oh, I want to read another dragon book. Then I'll try and like go to like another fantasy dragon book kind of thing. But sometimes you can't do that because like you'll read a book about dragons and then you'll go and read like another book that's about dragons and it won't, like it will make it like diminish the second book because it's not the exact same story, but your brain is like trying to process it as the same story, if that makes sense. So I just pretty much go off my mood. Okay, we're gonna do another ball. So this one is 075. 075. Perfect. Okay, so, number 6 is, where do you like to read? My absolute favorite place to read is my front porch. We have like a little setup there and it's outside and it's nice and I'm on like a little, I don't know if it's like a crescent or what you would call it, but it's like a little quiet street. Nobody's really on my street unless they're like the people who live on my street kind of thing. So I sit there and I have my tea and I like put music on and I read my book out in the sunshine and I'm so excited that it's May. I'm on holidays at the end of this month, so like 97% of my plans are to be like on my porch reading or sleeping. Like I don't even like sleep that much, as you guys know. Number 7 is, what's your reading goal for 2024? I set my Goodreads reading goal originally as 25 books and then in like January I read 12. So I was like, oh, I better amp that up. So I set it up to 35. Last year, I set it at 20, I think it was 24. I used to set it for 54 because I was like, I'll read 54 books. That's like, or no, it was 52 because I would read 52 books. That would be like a book a week. And I never made it to that. So, and then last year I set it to 24 and I ended up reading like 127 books. So this year I set it to 35 and hopefully I'll read like 127 books. Hopefully it'll be higher. This year so far, I have been like pretty low reading wise, but I have read good quality books. So I'm enjoying that. Okay. Then we have number 8. Do you enjoy rereading books? If so, do you have one you've reread more than the most? I do like rereading books. I'm actually working on rereading the Marked series by PC and Kristen Cast. That was actually going to be my goal for last year, was to read one of them a month, and then I didn't end up doing that. But I've read the first 3 of them so far. So that's pretty good, because I think there's 12? I think there's 12, because I think I could have read one book of them, like a reread of them, per month for a year, I think is what it was. So I think there's 12 of them. So I do enjoy rereading books. Like that's what one that I'm working on. I also want to reread the Throne and Glass series and the A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, because she's like putting out new ones apparently. And then I also want to reread oh geez, what they're called. I can't see them there. The Mortal Instruments books. Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Princess, stuff like that. I want to reread those. Those are by Cassandra Clare. So I do want to reread those. That one actually I worked on because I also read 2 of those last year. My number 1 book that I've reread the most is White Oleander by Janet Fitch. That's my favorite book of all time. Every time I read it, I feel like it treats me or teaches me something different, and like kind of like changes, like I genuinely become that personality, and I don't know what that personality is. Like if you've read that book, I'm not 100% sure what that personality is, but for a week I'm like, nah, I can take on anything. Like just because I read that book, like for real. So if I'm ever like in a bind, or if I know something bad's gonna happen, homegirl rereads that and then she's like, I got this. Like that whole week, I don't know, it just makes me have that personality. Number 9 is, how many books do you think you own? I think I own over 1,000. I am pretty sure that this room classifies as my own library. And homegirl is happy about that. I love it. My boyfriend not so much, but nobody asked his opinion. This room is not for him. I'm so saucy. And I'm back! Okay, I just had like a super sneezing fit there. Anyways, so this one is, who's your favorite author? My favorite author is Cassandra Clare, I think. And then Sarah J. Maas. Yeah, I think. I really like fantasy books. And those ones are like, to me, they're like high fantasy. I don't know if other people would call them high fantasy. Because apparently high fantasy is like huge world building and all of this kind of stuff. But I mean, like, they have good world building in there. So I think they're high fantasy to me. Those are some of my favorite. I also am collecting everything from Kaylin Bayron. I'm saying it wrong probably. But she wrote this. This is the You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight book. That I had this in my TBR video that I filmed that I didn't end up reading, but I did have this book in there. So I actually started collecting all of her books because she's a Black author and she writes Black characters, and there's not enough like Black authors who write Black characters books out there, so I'm trying to collect more diverse books, I guess. So yeah, I think those are my favorite. Okay, we're gonna roll a ball. So this one is 072. 072. Okay, now we have a couple of would you rather questions. So would you rather read 1 book per year and remember everything, or read 100 books per year and remember nothing? So as you guys know, I already have like a super not great memory, and I barely remember any of the books that I read last year. So I would rather read 100 books and not remember any than just read 1 and remember everything from it. Because like, what would be that 1 book that you would read and then remember everything from it? And only 1 book per year? Like, that's not enough books to read in 1 year. Like, that's not enough. So, no, I'd rather read 100 and not remember them. I think. Yeah. That's what I'm going with. Number 2 is, would you rather only read the first page of a book or the last page of a book? The first page of a book. The last page, what if something really cool happens on the last page, but then you can't read the rest of the book? Or, like, say it's like a sequel, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the first book into the sequel, and then it's like, and then he fell off a cliff, but in the next sentence, something cool happened. And you're like, what happens? But you can't read the next, like, page? You know what I mean? No, the first page. And also, most books have to try and hook you in that first page. So there's a lot of epic first pages out there. But not always the ending of the book is super good. Huh? You're with me, right? You get what I'm saying. Number 3. Read a book with an unclear ending that makes you wonder what the author meant, or with a heartbreaking ending. I would go with the unclear ending because you can interpret it any way you want to. Heartbreaking endings, I mean, like, I guess those are good too, depending on like what kind of book you're reading. Like, we read Odd Thomas together and that had a heartbreaking ending. We read it as like our book club. If you guys don't know that, we read that as a part of our book club, and it was a super good book. And like the ending was heartbreaking. Like, I was ugly sob crying. Like, so that one was heartbreaking. So I don't know, both ways are good, but I would probably go with the unclear ending because you could just like make up whatever you wanted for the end. Yeah, I would think I would go with that. Number 4 is, would you rather be only able to read new books or only read rereads? New books? New books. Yes. Because if you've read I mean, like, I don't really have a good memory anyway, so sometimes rereading a book is like a brand new book for me anyhow. Or close to anyway. Honestly, I reread one of the books that I had in here because it had a really good first line, and I didn't realize until I was like 80% done it that I had read it before. Because the first line caught me the second time and I was like, this is really good. And then I was like, why is this book so familiar? But then I just kept reading it and then I was like, oh wait, I know what happens now because I had actually read it before, but I didn't realize that. So I would probably go with new books, I think. I would go with new books for that one for sure. I sneezed a whole bunch and now my mouth feels like extra phlegmy or liquidy, I don't know. Number 5, would you rather read 100 books this year and never be able to read again, or read 1 book per year for the rest of your life? You know, I came up with these questions. Like, I found these questions and I'm mad at this question. I would rather read 1 book per year for the rest of my life. However, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could reread that book. That would, yeah, okay, I'm going with the 1 book per year. Because, like, I read 127 books last year. I could read 100 books this year quite easily and then never be able to read again? No thanks. That's harsh. Do you get to book the book in advance? Can it be a series so that technically it's like 7 books, but it counts as 1 book because they're in the same box? Like, there's loopholes. There's loopholes to this question. I'm just saying. Okay, we're gonna roll another bubble. I mean, like, I could try and loophole it up somehow. Okay, so we have G46 here. G46. Okay. Now we have reading habits questions. Do you prefer hardcovers or paperbacks? I like the way that hardcovers look, but I prefer paperbacks to read. I do, however, like, I can read either one of them, and they're both perfectly fine. It doesn't really matter to me, actually. I'll read either one. I think that hardbacks, like hardbacks look nicer on the shelf. But that's about it. Number 2, do you enjoy audiobooks? Yes, I love them. That's actually how I read, like, a ton of my books. That's actually how I read, like, 127 last year, was I got that Everand, I think it's Everand now, but it used to be Scribed. I have, like, a link in my description box if you guys want to check it out. You do get to, like, listen to books for the first 60 days for free if you click on that link. Just remember to cancel it before those 60 days are up if you don't want to keep it, okay? But it's amazing. I think it's awesome. My mom uses it, Taylor uses it, and, like, Taylor's in the US. I'm Canadian. Taylor's in the US and she can use mine. So you can have 3 people on your account and they can listen to books as long as they're cool sharing it. Number 3 is, do you read more at night or during the day? I think I read more during the day. I read, for sure, like, every single day when I'm at work on my lunch break, I read a book. Like, I read my book that I'm reading at that point. So I usually am day shift to night shift. Like, I read during the day in my lunch time. And I don't really read before bed because I'm usually either, like, I play on my phone and then I go to sleep, or, you know, we watch a movie and then I go to sleep, that kind of thing. So I think I read more during the daytime. Number 4 is, do you prefer to buy new books or used books? And I'm good with either. Honestly, I like to call used books previously loved books because somebody bought that because they loved that book and they wanted to read that book. So, because that's why I buy books, because I love books. Like, that's all of these books in here, even if I haven't read them yet, I love all of them. Even if I'm going to give them away because they're not for me anymore, I still love them at one point. That's why I bought them. So, you know, those are previously loved books to me. And I'm back again. So I had a coughing fit there. So apparently that's the kind of video that we're going to have here. I don't know. It's the talking. It's the talking for sure. Okay, so we did, do you prefer new or used books? Number 5 is, what is your favorite genre and your least favorite genre? So fantasy is my favorite, with a thriller mystery, like, what do they call that? Major and your minor? Like, fantasy would be my major and thriller and mystery would be my minor. My least favorite genre is romance and contemporary. Romance, I have a lot of romance in my life. That's not me bragging or anything like that. Just my level of romance and what I think is romantic compared to, like, what books think is romantic are 2 very different things, and I have a lot of romance in my life already. And contemporary, I am not a fan of because I already pay my own bills. Like, I already have a job that I go to. I do not want to read about how Miss Sally is going to the job to do the thing so that she can pay the bills and she has a kid and she's getting a truck and she's divorcing her husband. All that stuff, I don't care because I've already done that. Like, I'm not divorced and I don't have kids, but like, I already do all of like the main stuff that she's doing, you know what I mean? So I would rather read about like dragons and like, you know, being hunted by a serial killer. Maybe, like, I don't want to do that, but I would totally write a dragon if that was available. Like, I don't want to be hunted by a serial killer. I want to put that real out there. I do not wish that on myself or anybody else. And I just knocked on wood just in case you guys missed that noise. But yeah, I do not want that to happen to anybody. I just think that's a very good book to read because it's thrillery and it makes my heart do a little, you know, because you get excited. Okay. Number 6 is, do you have a go-to snack or drink to enjoy while reading? Sometimes I like a glass of red wine, but mostly I like tea. That's my favorite. And chips are usually my snack, or I like veggies and hummus, that kind of thing. I like crunchy stuff when I'm reading because I forget to eat quite often. Like I said, if I get really into a book, like with that Zodiac Academy book, I would not have eaten food if my boyfriend was like, hey, I made supper, here you go. Because I did not even pay attention to the fact that he was making supper. Like, I was so into that book. And like when I read, I get like a movie in my mind. So I'm not here. Like, you can do this to me and I'll be like, what happened? Because like I can't see the words anymore. But like, I'm really in the movie in my mind. So when I read, I get like really into it, especially with that kind of book. Like, that book was so good. That was such a good book. Okay, so we're going to roll a ball. I don't know what number we're on. I have not been counting as we have gone along in these numbers today. So we're going to do this one that's here, and then we're going to do the one that's sitting in the little chamber there. Okay, so we have G53. That is G53. Okay, so number 7 is, do you annotate books? And yes, I do. Let me show you. I have one here. This is one I have annotated a lot. There's a lot of different tabs on here. I like to tab it up with different things. I first ever annotated book, I had like just willy-nilly, and then I started doing character colors, and I did Fourth Wing I annotated, and then I got like super into it, and so I only annotated like the first half. So it kind of depends, but I do like using the tabs. I like keeping notes. That also helps me remember the book, is like the annotation and stuff like that. Like, why did I annotate this spot? So I can go back and it's actually helping my memory a little bit. So I am enjoying that. Number 8, how do you keep track of the books you read? I have a book journal that I have right here. So I write them down at the end of the month, but I've also been keeping them on my Goodreads app. Like, so we are in May, but this was my April spread. That's what I did here. So I did like a dragon and yellow one, kind of like Fourth Wing based. I haven't filled out my stats yet, but I write down the title, the author, how many stars I gave it, when I finished it, and then I'm going to write like a little blurb in there. I just started working on this last night because I usually wait until the end of the month. During the month while I'm reading it, I do try and keep it, like, put it into my Goodreads, but I missed that for March? No, April. I was late with April's books, so I ended up putting in a couple like May 1st. Number 9 is, do you listen to music while you read? Yes, I do. I have to. I'm a Generation X girly. I grew up with my mom working, and my dad was not around at that time, and so it was like me and the TV or me and music or whatever. So I need the background noise to keep me company. That's one of the things that my mom pointed out to me when I was older that I didn't realize that I did. But I need to have something on in the background, so I need music, or the TV has to be on or something like that. And then that like helps me read, kind of thing. So I do listen to music. Okay, we'll do the last ball here, and then I got a couple more questions. So our last one from today is N41. N41. And then number 10 is, what makes you DNF a book? And DNF is do not finish a book. If I can't get into it, I DNF them. If there's something bad in the story, like if they end up hurting an animal, I'm out. Can't watch TV shows where they do that either. Don't care. I know it's fake, and I know it's a book, so I know it's not real, but I'm out. Can't do it. If something happens to, like, say I'm reading a series and my favorite character is like killed off, I will stop reading that series. Also, I have thrown books before. I read a book, I don't want to like give it away just in case anybody hasn't read it, but there was a series about some girls in the beginning. There's like 4 books, and then they wrote one like later, like 10 years later, and one of the girls has passed away, and I threw that book across the cabin and I never read that book again. So I was like, nope, that's not for me, and I threw it hard. Like, so yeah. So there is sometimes, like, if they mess with my characters that I love, I'm not into that, and I'm not gonna read it. Like, good for you that you're getting your ratings or whatever, but nah, I'm done. I'm not reading it, and I won't collect any more of those books either. However, I probably had all of that series by the time I started that book, because I like to have all of them just in case. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Please go and check out my friend Taylor's video. I cannot wait to see what she says. I'm excited for her her would you rather questions, like this or that kind of thing, because those we haven't done in a while. And I think that these are pretty good questions. I found like a website where I found all of these. I still can't believe that I put that, would you rather read 100 books and then never read again, or read 1 book a year for life? Like, what am I doing with that one? Thank goodness it's just a question and not like reality. Just like throw it. I'm very mad about that question. Okay, yeah, that's it. Let me know how your day is going. What's new with you? What's happening? How's May treating you so far? What's new? Are you guys excited for the summer? Do you have any big plans? Let me know that stuff too. Like I said, go and check out my friend Taylor's video to see what she said. I'm excited to see what she says. And please like this video and check out my description box for other content creators. And thank you guys so much for spending a couple minutes of your day with me today. I really, really appreciate that. And I really, really appreciate you. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!